Welcome to Chapter 1 of Finance, an overview of financial management. So let's start with a situation. Let's say we have two friends right here. This guy and this guy. Let's name them V and K. Hello to Keenan and hello to Vito. K and V. Now K and V want to start a business. Of course, they're doing this to make money for their purchases, for all their desires in life. And of course, they'll have something to sell. They'll have something to sell like lemonade. Hello to lemonade with a straw. Everybody likes lemonade. But of course, since they're young, reckless, and new to the environment, they might mismanage their assets, since of course financial management is concerned with managing your assets properly during times of uncertainty in the market. Now let's say, to illustrate this, their stall is here now. Hello to their stall. Here is Vito. He's manning the stall with the lemonade for sale. Lemon. Now, they would like to make their stall better, to upgrade their stall. And since they hand squeeze lemons, they want to do it quickly. But instead, they decide to purchase a TV set. Now, what would a TV set do for them to help their business? Nothing. Instead, they should have bought something like a juicer. You know those juicers in the supermarkets that help you grate out the juice easier. The lemons, you put the lemon here, there. I mean, if they bought this instead, this before this, it would be much easier for them to make business better. And that's the point of this. Vito and Keenan don't know anything about finance, so they should know about finance and manage their assets as such in a wise manner to accommodate the demands of the market. Instead of buying a TV, they buy a juicer. Now, how does this go around? We'll have to discuss the principles of financial management.
The principles of financial management.
Number 1. A business's profits can differ from its cash flows. Cash flows, not profits, represent money that can be spent. Consequently, it is cash flow, not profits, that determines the value of a business. Cash flows matter. To illustrate the first principle of the foundations of finance, we will have, of course, the cash flow, which was discussed earlier in the formal term, but in fact, we have to discuss it in a way that Vito and Keenan can understand. Okay, we'll have them looking on from here. Hello there. Now, first, Vito and Keenan, what you want to know about is that cash flow matters in a business. It's like having a car. Now, let's say you have a car. It's your business. Your car is your business, right? Doors, there, you have a car, right? Now, the cash is what protects it, and of course fuels it at the same time. So we can say that the cash can be wax on the car to protect it from dust, the environment. Also shine it to make it nice and shiny. Shine, spick and span. Now, to move the car, to make it move as so, you will need, of course, fuel. And now, as we can see, the wax protects and the fuel moves the car. The same goes for cash. For cash, let's see here, cash is what moves the business as well as protects the business as it goes on. Okay? It's equal to moves and equal to protects. And that will make the business, lots of cash will make the business easily movable, and of course keep it protected from the forces of the market. And that will lead to, of course, happy Keenan and happy Vito. Number 2. Time value of money brings future benefits, and costs of a project measured by the cash flows back to the present. If benefits outweigh the costs, then project creates wealth and should be pursued. Money has time value. To illustrate this yet again, for the second principle this time, money has time value. Let's say hello to Keenan and Vito again. And of course you have, let's say, a bill of money. This bill is like, let's say, this bill is like a tree. Okay, now of course you start with a seed that goes in the ground. Now that it's in the ground, of course you water it, and it will grow, right? It will grow little by little. And that's the same for money. For it grows, of course, into a plant first. Plant with leaves. Then, of course, it will grow further. Grow further into, of course, a full-grown tree now. Now, as it's a full-grown tree, it will not stop growing. It will grow and grow and grow again. Of course, it lasts a long time. But what makes it grow is something like when we put in a tree, we water it, of course, we give it nutrients from the soil. The nutrients that make it grow can be termed as interest in terms of money. Interest. Now, when we say interest, it is what makes money grow. Up. So, that means, of course, interest makes money grow. We also have something called, besides interest, there's also something called inflation. And both of these contribute to, of course, money growing to be bigger. Not necessarily bigger in size, but bigger in value. And that's something you, Vito and Keenan, have to understand when it comes to their business. That money grows. Not to say that money grows off trees, that's ridiculous, but money definitely grows over time, and that's the point here. Number 3. Without exception, investors will not invest if they do not expect to receive a return on their investment. A risk requires a return. To show you what this thirdly means, risk requires reward, let's take into consideration what if Vito was in class. Of course, if he was such a person, usually kids would do things only for rewards. Now, Vito loves candies. Now, if the class, the teacher, were to offer him candies in exchange for listening, then of course Vito would be awake. He would turn out to be a good student and raise his hand a lot, all for this reward. The same goes for investors, as Vito and Keenan would put money in something. They'd expect that money comes back to them, or maybe something else comes back to them at least. So risk requires reward. Number 4. An efficient market is a market in which prices of the securities at any instant in time fully reflect all publicly available information about the securities and their actual public values. Market prices are generally right. illustrating the fourth principle, which is, of course, market prices are generally right and the efficient market hypotheses, we can say that with the price, there are many factors that contribute. So it can be variables like X, Y, and Z. And we say that we trust these, of course, because this contributes to the price now. It's the same thing as saying I'm interested in buying a pig. A pig, alright? I'm not going to eat the pig, but, I like pigs. Now, this pig will, of course, have a certain price on its head, because, of course, of its the breeding, the shipping of the pig, maybe, if it's imported, of course, if for the training, if you want to train, for the bathing, the food, Now, of course, you can't take into consideration everything. That's why the EMH, the efficient market hypothesis, is flawed in a way, because sometimes you'll have this pig. It turns out that this pig was, smuggled. It was stolen. And you don't really know about those. So sometimes you can trust it, and sometimes you can't. And that's what this market prices are generally right means. They're generally right, but they're not always right. Right? Number 5. Conflicts of interests arise when managers do what is in their best interest rather than the best interests of the firm. Conflicts of interests cause agency problems. Now, to illustrate the fifth, the conflicts of interest can cause agency problems. Let's say, of course, Vito and Keenan have a business, right? And it just so happens that's their business. They are the business. Vito and Keenan are the business, since there are only two people. And what if Vito gets angry at a decision Keenan comes up with? Decision. He doesn't like it, He gets all angry about it. If that happens and he decides on his own, Vito decides on his own, like a selfish pig, he will, of course, go the other way. Go this way. And if he does that, it will split. It will split the business, and Keenan and Vito will have problems. Split the business with all the letters along the insides. It will split it. Sorry. It will split the business, and of course that will create rifts, create fires within the business, and they don't want that. So they should be quite friendly to each other. They should decide as a team to make things better. And if they do that, of course, they'll be reeling in those bucks for them. Smiles, smiles.
Legal forms of business organizations.
Now, there are three main forms of these organizations. The first would be a sole proprietorship, which is a business owned by a single individual. The second is a partnership, which is an association of two or more individuals joining together as co-owners to operate a business for profit. And the third is corporation, an artificial being, invisible, intangible, and existing only in contemplation of the law, an entity that legally functions separate and apart from its owners. So what do Vito and Keenan classify under? Okay, now since Vito and Keenan, since their business is not that complex, they will have to decide what kind of legal form of business organization they want to be. So Keenan and Vito have to decide. Now, seeing as they don't have to worry about anything much, they only have one product anyway, and there are only two of them in business. Lemonade, yeah, lemons, of course. I don't know, ice. They only have one product, it's just one thing. They don't really have much to worry about in terms of that. And so they can be classified then as a partnership. So So let this be the start of Vito and Keenan Lemonade Partnership. Right. Smiles, smiles.
Ethics.
Ethics is defined as standards of conduct or moral behavior. Ethical behavior means doing the right things the right way at the right time. Ignoring ethics, even by not doing anything, can result in consequences that are hard to ignore. Ethics matter. Ethics. So why do we tackle ethics? Well, basically, this has to do with the law. The law, proper business practices, and of course, trust. Trust within and outside the business. Let's start with law. Let's say Vito, well, being the shrewd businessman he is, he will negotiate with a slave camp somewhere in the outskirts of the province. Slave camp. He'll get his lemons from this. He'll get a whole basket full of truckloads of dirty lemons made by child laborers and orphaned child laborers, things like that. Now he's happy about this. He thinks it'll be good for his business since he's saving. But in fact, if he does get found out by the officials that he's transacting with a slave camp, well, of course the coppers will nail him for that. As you can see, with their shades and their mustaches, they'll get him for that, and oh, too bad, Vito. Cry, cry, sweat on your brow. You will get nailed for that. And that will, of course, lead your business to go down. And that's not good. We don't want that. Now, the second would be, of course, trust. Now, Vito and Keenan, well, of course they have to trust each other and make sure that they always do with themselves and their suppliers when it's needed, of course, because if they don't trust each other, business won't get going. So let's see, it's a circle with their suppliers and, of course, officials of the law and whatnot with their mustaches, holding hands. Of course, with everyone else. Of course, they're buyers, so it's like a circle. And that creates, I don't know if you can call it love, but it'll be good for business anyway. Well, as regards practices, those will encompass both the law and, of course, the trust. They will unite together, and yeah, that's what will create the practices we need for a good business. And of course, that's basically what makes Chapter 1. An overview of financial management. Thank you.
End.